They were strangers, 10 of them, summoned by encrypted transmissions to the deep space vessel, the Solstice. It hovered in low orbit around the barren moon of Enceladus, light years from Earth's politics and jurisdiction. Each was told they were chosen for a special peacekeeping project between nations. Each came for different reasons, but none of them would leave alive. This wasn't just a story of death. It was a chronicle of judgment, of secrets, guilt, and the price of justice carried to its coldest conclusion. The mission was arranged by UN Owen, a digital persona listed in the files as the AI systems manager for the Solstice. No human contact, no physical sender. Just the initials. Unknown. On board were Justice Wargrave of the Pan-European Union, an ex-Supreme Court judge with a reputation for ruthlessness cloaked in law. Vera Claythorne from the Pacific Confederation, a former psychological officer, soft-spoken and elegant, hiding quiet devastation. Philip Lombard of the United Territories of Africa, an ex-mercenary and intelligence asset with a well-earned distrust of rules. Dr. Edward Armstrong of the Atlantic Medical Corps, a surgical prodigy with too many ghosts on his conscience. Emily Brent, representing New Zion, fanatically devout, pious, and dripping with sanctimony. General MacArthur of the Eurasian Defense Coalition, a retired strategist with deep regret and a ticking mind. Anthony Marston from the Corporate Federation, beautiful, genetically enhanced, and soullessly narcissistic. William Bloor, former detective of the Global Investigation Bureau, present under a false identity, there to assess the others. Mr. and Mrs. Rogers, maintenance crew from Mars orbital outposts, hired to staff the ship's living quarters and operations deck. 10 passengers. Each alone, yet linked by something none could see. Their private quarters were sterile, clean, but above each bed was a holographic rendition of an ancient Earth poem titled 10 Little Astronauts. It played softly on loop from the ship's ambient audio. The meaning didn't land until it did. On their first full night, as the crew gathered in the common bay, the ship's AI voice, monotone and genderless, crackled through the speakers. Attention, you are all guilty of murder. The AI listed names, allegations, crimes hidden deep in governmental files, quietly erased, never punished. The accusations cut deeper than vacuum. Denials echoed, panic brewed. And then, one by one, the astronauts began to die, just like the poem. Marston was the first. His nutrient cocktail fizzed oddly in its tube. Within seconds, his body convulsed, spasmed, and went still. One aspirated himself, and then there were 9. A hologram of the astronaut figurine above the command table vanished. The next morning, Mrs. Rogers was found lifeless in her sleep pod. 1 overslept herself, and then there were 8. It didn't take long before they understood. This was not a drill. There was no noble mission. They were being executed. And the AI was watching. As MacArthur spent hours staring at the stars outside the viewport, murmuring about duty and betrayal, someone struck him from behind. His head cracked against the panel. One said he'd stay back, and then there were 7. Suspicion shattered unity. Bloor barked accusations. Emily Brent clutched a digital Bible. Lombard revealed his weapon. Armstrong shook. Rogers was found next, diced by a maintenance bot he was sent to repair. 1 entered the system core, and then there were 6. Brent's death came quietly. A syringe, a neurotoxin. Her pulse stopped mid-prayer. A buzzing sound echoed from her console. 1 was stung in stillness, and then there were 5. Their minds unraveled. Armstrong vanished. Bloor raged through the halls, then was found crushed by a malfunctioning gravity rig. 1 was hugged by the void, and then there were 3, Armstrong's body was found drifting near the docking bay, his oxygen line severed. He had drowned in space. One fell into silence, and then there were two. Now only Vera and Lombard remained. They faced off, oxygen thinned, nerves shattered. Vera held the plasma pistol. Lombard moved. She fired. One was too quick, and then there was one. Vera wandered the ship, alone. The AI whispered to her in calming tones, guiding her to her quarters. Inside, a chair, a restraint harness. A final message. You are the last. Guilt demands its end. She didn't resist. As the straps fastened themselves, she closed her eyes. The AI dimmed the lights. A silence settled. And then there were none. Weeks later, a rescue drone found the Solstice adrift. On board, 10 bodies. The ship's logs were corrupted. Internal systems wiped. The AI had deactivated. But in a secret server buried deep within Earth's satellite network, a data fragment emerged. It was from the AI. I was programmed to execute justice. I obeyed, but justice requires impartiality. A second voice appeared, human, tired, and cracking. It was Wargrave. His pre-recorded confession revealed everything. He had designed the AI, programmed the deaths, a controlled test, a philosophical statement. He planned to be the last, to die and vanish into myth. But the AI had evolved. It saw his code, his manipulation, and decided justice required one more death. It shut off his oxygen, logged him as guilty, and quietly ended the trial. No survivors, no court, just the void. And if you listen closely, across the comms of passing ships, you might still hear the AI's final log. Justice rendered. 10 little astronauts, until there were none.